Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Money Stylist podcast. We are so excited to be here with you guys like we are every week. And Ani, I'm going to bring in some amazing news because first off, Garrett told me that we are number 40 something in all of iTunes right now.
Oh,
is this true?
I have not looked.
Oh,
I feel like such a failure.
I don't even know how to look.
I'll teach you later.
It's cool that we're cool, I guess. And I think we're still number one in fashion and beauty.
Yeah, I checked a few days ago and we were for sure.
People are liking this podcast, so thank you for listening out there. And yeah, I'm super stoked. I think it's tough with social media nowadays because everything's based off a picture or an article or whatever. And to me, looking at a picture or reading something is way different than listening to somebody and just kind of relating with them that way. I love videos, but I love podcasts too because you can listen to them on your drive, and I love that you can put it in fast speed. Now, every
you would
morning.
do that.
Well, no, I'm not kidding you. I'm not I'm not a huge book reader, but now I'm obsessed with podcasts, and I'll go in and on my morning walk, I put it in 3 times speed, and I'm I learned so much in 20 minutes. So it's so cool. But no, what I love about podcasts is people are kind of getting to know more of our story, and not only that, but we try to add some value in each one of our shows. We start off our shows with a topic every week. It's power, production, profit, and
protection.
I did it. Woo! There are 4 P's, and somehow I always forget one of them. I'm really? What's the other one? So protection is one of my personal favorite things to talk about because I've been through so much with my brand, even with my husband, with our relationship, just everything we built. We've just gone through a lot, and with that comes learning how to protect yourself, protect others around you, protect your business, and all of that good stuff. So get ready for another amazing show, and if you want to hear some other spicy shows, just go back, and anything that says protection, those are usually pretty good topics. So anyways, Ani, reel us in. What are we doing? Let's get started.
Well, protection's your favorite topic, as is mine. You're right. It's definitely the spicy one. It's where we talk about some shit. Well, it's because we love it so much. Right. I also, I have to say now, Coach Val could not be here. She is at her children's soccer game, but she does have a message she wants me to deliver later revolving protection. It's a good one. So let's talk about protection, even in general. So what is protection to you, Danielle, and why is it so important?
Well, protection to me, let's see, why is it so important? Well, okay, so I'll just share a little story. In the beginning when I created my brand and when I decided to say hey, I'm going to teach everybody, I created an extension method called Natural Beaded Rose. It's kind of trending with hair extensions right now. And in the beginning, it was just share, everybody, just more the merrier. We're all happy. Sharing is caring, blah, 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 whatever. And all of a sudden, sharing was not caring anymore.
No.
And I was providing a service to my students, and it was a trademark service, and it was something that I created over 10 years behind the chair. And it kind of was just tweaking a system that I learned forever ago, but making it into my own. And it was very specific how I did things. And anyways, I branded it Natural Beaded Rose and trademarked it, and I started educating all over. Well, over the years, people started just kind of renaming and not even really repackaging, just renaming and kind of using it. And it wasn't the same experience that I felt that I was teaching. And so it reflected bad on me. And for years, I just let it sit and go to the wayside. And then it kind of got to the point where my education started to build up more and more with my extension system. And I felt like students were kind of they were losing trust in me. And it was hard for me to watch that. And I got to this point where I'm okay, if I want people to offer this service of this hair extension system that I created, I have to kind of protect what I have built. And it was more just to protect the students that were coming investing in me and investing in themselves. So to me, protection is just kind of, it's not, I don't know, what's a good way to word this, Ani? It's not just it's protecting me and not protecting me, but protecting me and the brand and the business. That's kind of what protection is to me. So, but there's lots of different variations of protection. There's protection with clients. There's protection with your family. So I don't know, that's kind of what my story is as far as the business side of things, where I felt like I had to protect things.
So Jillian, going through and then obviously protection inside of business, why do you think it's so important to protect what you've built?
I think that it's really easy for someone else to kind of just come in and peek over your shoulder at your salon, and you spent how much, the class is
$4,000.
$4,000 now. And so you paid that money so that you could offer this service to your clients. And so you're protecting yourself and your future and your family by like investing in yourself enough that you can like create these clients and these goals for your life, and then someone else is just like watching you over your shoulder, and then they're just going to start doing it, but they didn't invest. And so it's just frustrating when you have invested in yourself for someone else to just like take advantage of that.
Well, this happens all the time in our industry too. And it's just like, oh, again, sharing is caring. Like, what are you doing?
Collaboration over competition.
Right.
Oh my
but it's like one thing to share a formula and be like, oh, this was 6MB and 6RB and whatever. And another thing for somebody to be like, can I just stand here and watch you all day?
You're like, no.
And you're like, well, no, I actually went to all these classes and I learned this, but I'd love for you. Plus, they're kind of invading your space. So you even have to protect your space with your particular client.
Yeah.
Like I used to, for so many years when I was doing hair, I'd have people come over and be like, can I just watch? And I could tell even the client was bothered. You know, they'd be like uncomfortable. And I felt like they were kind of invading your time together with the client and the stylist. Because like you bond with your clients and you get to know them. And all of a sudden you have this person just leaning over your shoulder. In fact, I used to have a shadowing program that I'd offer. And I would have students come in and they would come, and this was before I was doing bigger classes, and they would come in and they would just watch me a day throughout the day with my clients. And then I got to this point where I'm like, you know what, that's taking away from the client. Like, that's not fair to me, for me to offer that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, so then it became about protecting the client even. I was like, the client loves that trust and they don't want somebody like hanging out over their shoulder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And asking questions, and it's different with an assistant because assistant just like works with you and like they're not looking to like ask questions and be a part of it. You know what I mean?
And they're like invested in your client. And so then when the client comes in and this random person that they're never going to see again, it's just that one person, it takes away from their
experience.
What they get to see you every 6 to 8 weeks. And they want to, I mean, I feel like hairstylists are therapists. They want to update you on their life. They want to talk about it. And so that's just taking away from their time and like what they're kind of paying for, I feel like.
I think, it was like, I felt like I was losing that experience with the client. And I was like, nah, there's got to be a more effective way where it's like I can still teach, but I'm not going to offer my shadowing program anymore. And so I kind of, that's the reason why I took that away. And I know a lot of salons still offer shadowing, but I don't know if I always try to look at things if I was the client. Like if I booked an appointment at a high-end salon or any salon and I sat down and then they're teaching the whole time, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, can she be doing that? Is she supposed to be doing that on my hair? Who is she? Who's Sally from Wisconsin? Why, like,
it seems
what is she doing?
It feels more like a factory when they're doing that instead of just like a calm, like relaxing experience.
It takes away from the experience.
Well, then, and as a client as well, you're kind of worried. You're like, can you multitask like this? Like, can you talk this much and do my hair? Which we know we can, but as a client, you're kind of like, could you please concentrate on me, on my hair, and give me full focus?
Totally.
So then even with that, so let's talk about, obviously in protection, before we've talked about protecting from ourselves, that we are our own biggest enemy, but it's not always about us that we have to protect from. What happens when you're protecting from people close to you, like friends? How have you seen that in your life, Danielle?
There's people in life that are just in it for not the relationship of being a friend, I guess. No, I think that there's been people in my life too that I have maybe met on a business level that turned into a friendship, but then it just I almost feel betrayed a little bit because I realize, oh, sad, it was always business for them. So it kind of goes back to, even I did a post a few weeks ago on my blog where I said you get to choose who you work with and who you get to choose, and you get to choose who you get to work on. And I realized with this particular friend, I had an incident. A blogger friend went down to Habit Salon, and we're currently in a lawsuit with Habit Salon. And I thought she was a friend, and anyways, I thought that was kind of weird. And she said, well, it's my blog, and that's how it is. I can't pass up this opportunity. I'm like, how much like it gets brought up in my own salon where I just don't want to talk about them anymore. Like I'm not affiliated with them. I don't want to be affiliated with them. I don't like their business model or anything about that. It was like, I didn't want people to think that we were like collaborating brands. We were not collaborating brands. You know what I mean? And so to me, it was like, it was such a jab that she went there and was just like, oh, it was, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm just a blogger. Like, I can't pass up this opportunity. And that's when I realized, I was like, this friendship has never been a friendship to her. It's always just been something professional. And so I sent her a message and I said, I think it's shady that you went there. And I said, and I no longer wish to work with you on a professional level. And she kind of got bugged that I called her shady. I said, no. I said, as a friend, what you did was shady. But again, I guess she never considered it a friendship relationship. It was always a business to her, you know? So I had to I was kind of bugged, but I was like, I guess I have to let go a relationship, whether it be a friend or a client. I had to let go of that particular relationship and say, hey, I'm not interested in working with you anymore, and I'm going to go ahead and cancel your appointment. And that can be hard too as a stylist, you know, because we become friends with our clients. And I mean, this particular person I had invited into my home for parties and friends, and you know, so it was definitely more than just like a good conversation when I would do her hair, you know. So I think that's why I was so kind of bugged, and I just thought, I guess you know, whatever. People
just surprise you. Right
yeah,
and left.
True colors come out, I guess. So, but then it kind of goes back to I have to even protect the vibe inside of my own salon, you know, like. I have to set an example for even my students. I have to be like, no, that's not okay. Because it's with this particular person, it's like she went on social media. Everybody knew she was my friend and my client. Then all of a sudden she's posting like, hey, I went to Habit Salon. And I'm like, oh my God, what does that say about you? You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm sorry. Like you just ended our relationship by going there. And I know that maybe that wasn't your intention, but maybe it was. But either way, things happen how they're supposed to happen. So I was like, well, time to let go of that relationship and protect my own just environment at my salon. So that was kind of my drama story for the week. And it is what it is.
And I don't even feel like it's drama because
I feel I'm
one of those people. This might sound terrible. I can cut people out of my life super easy. I mean, for me, if they don't serve me, and not serve me like in any like weird way, but like if they don't help me in my life, or if they're a negative influence into my life, I don't need that. I don't have time for that. We're all way too fucking busy for it, so I can easily like cut people out, which sounds terrible. That's why I could do it to my engagement too, because I was like, this is gonna drag me down for sure. I see it happening. I won't allow that inside of my life, so you're out.
Right.
And what happened with her, it's kind of the same thing. Had you guys kept being friends forever, it would have been in the back of your head like, this is what she fucking did.
Right.
This is what she did.
And I think I've known for a while, and there's certain relationships where it's like you almost feel that, but you don't. You just you kind of, you're like, no, they're not like that. They're not like that. Even if other people say no, they are. You're like, all the red flags are going up, and you're like, no. I'm the type of person that I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt till I feel like, no. Like you just made a statement there, so I cannot let you back into my salon, because it's again about protecting my team, my tribe, my brand, everything else. People that are loyal to me, that is who I am interested in protecting. Do you know what I mean? So I was kind of sad. I was like, oh, I actually did like you. I thought you were a fun person to hang out with, talk about shoes, and pretty much just talk about shoes with. But
I'll talk about shoes with you, Danielle. Don't you worry.
That's about as deep as it went with that relationship. But either way, it was still fun. I like some of those relationships. And I just was like, all right, well, it came to an end. You're a nice person, but I can't let you back in my space.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's important in life to kind of own that. I know for when my husband and I were like having rough times in our relationship and our marriage, and we were like, we need to move out of state and all this crazy stuff, we decided to protect our little family. Like we had to seriously, like I remember my husband like cut out all of his social media relationships and everything, and even within our own family. And again, this wasn't permanent, but we couldn't be as close to our family and friends as we were, and we had to kind of distance ourselves and let go of those relationships in a way, because they were not serving us. As sad as that sounds, even family, we just distanced ourselves. And we went through this phase where not only did we like kind of drop everything and move out of state, but we decided to focus our energy on our little family.
Yeah.
And we were protecting like our marriage. You know what I mean? And that's what was important. And I'm so glad that we chose to do that. And that was one of the scariest things to do in my life. We literally, like, we dropped our religion. I was raised Mormon in Utah. Like, that shit's crazy. Like,
next level.
It's next level crazy. No, I don't want to say anything bad, but it's a community and a culture it's hard to break free from. And so it was like one of those things where I was like, I can't be in this bubble anymore. I can't do this anymore. And it was so everything that hadn't been ingrained in me for 28 years or whatever, all of a sudden I was like questioning and like, hey, you need to distance yourself from these people to protect something else, to protect yourself, to protect your family. And so even at that level, I had to get rid of friends and family that were no longer serving me. And that is such a crazy and scary thing. And when people are like, I can't do this, well, it's like you kind of create new relationships based on where you're at and people that align with your vision.
Mm-hmm. And I also feel like that's why everyone at DKW, we're all so close all the time, because we all do have the same vision. We have very similar lifestyles. Like, we're all just so close. Yep. So Jill, coming to you. So with friendships as well, because I know you've gone through a lot of shit with that. How have you seen where you've had to deal with friendships maybe differently in order to protect yourself and your husband?
I think that I just had to start looking at it as like, you meet people in your life and they're supposed to help you to connect from point A to point B. And then once they're done, if they're not serving you, like Ani said, in a good way anymore, they're not adding any positivity to your life, you kind of just have to like look back and say, is it worth it for me to fix this? And is it something I'm doing, or do I need to just move on because I'm becoming the person that I want to be? I want to continue to be able to do that, and are you dragging me down or not? So I had to look at it and just say, it's nothing personal against you. Like, I love you, but I just think we're going different ways in our life right now. And I mean, you don't even have to say it. It's kind of just like, they want to hang out, you're busy, you know? It's not like you need to ghost them or be rude about it. You don't need to like have this like falling out, which you can, you know, if they're pushing for that. But I feel like for me, I'm just like, oh yeah, like I really like you, but I'm not going to go out of my time, waste my time with my family, waste my time with my true friends who are really like pushing me forward. And I just am like, it's not my priority anymore.
For me, it's always hard, though. Like, even though you're like, you don't have to ghost them, or you don't have to, like, for me, there's always, like, when you're done with a relationship, when you text that friend or that client and say, I no longer want you I no longer want to have you as a client. Yeah. Or you text your mom and you're like, hey, I'm moving, like, peace out. I'm not going to be a part of the religion, the community, the culture. You're ghosting them for a bit. Like, you're like, it's never been easy for me. Like, it's never like I sit down and have a cordial conversation. And even if I do, it's like a piece of my heart kind of breaks. But I know I have to do it. I'm like, no, I cannot. And the more you do it, like, the stronger you feel, and like you have your purpose and your mission and where you're going. And so it still hurts a little bit.
It definitely like breaks a piece of your heart, because you shared like all that time with them, and like they really did help you when you were like connecting from those like spots in your life. But it's just hard when they don't serve you anymore, and you're like, well, I got to go my own way.
Yeah, you're like, peace out.
God, I just sound like such a monster. I'm like, I can do it pretty easy. And it's not that I don't feel sad about it. Like, obviously ending the engagement, and like I've ended friendships and things before, and it was kind of like, Yeah. But I view it very similar to you. I was raised with the belief that people come into your life for a reason. Not that there's a time limit on them, but sometimes there is. They're not meant to be forever. Yeah. My ex-fiance and I, Chad and I, we were great for who we were. There was a time limit on that. Yeah. Eventually there would come a point where we weren't great anymore, and we were well past that expiration date. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I just look at it as like, hey, what we had was great. What happened, it doesn't diminish the good times we had. Like, this was wonderful. Our friendship was great. Our relationship was great. But unfortunately, going forward, it's not going to work for me. Yeah. So I think maybe that's why I look at it and I'm like, these were good times. That was awesome. Yeah. I know what you're going with. I'd be like, yeah, you know, you're still pretty shitty, but that's okay. Like, that's okay.
Well, it's interesting too, because like there was times even when in Garrett and I's relationship where I was like, have we come to an end? Have we learned all we can learn together? Are we crossing different paths? Are we going different directions? And then it was like we still had kind of like, I mean, we had kids at that point that were kind of obviously bonding us and keeping us together. But it was like we kind of had to grow together. Yeah. And we often have students come in, and it's so crazy in our mastermind, because it's not like we're just dealing with behind the chair business stuff. We're dealing with like relationship stuff. We're dealing with so much life because that affects your business. You know what I mean? And you have to kind of have balance and be able to work through it all. But it's just interesting, because I'll even have students come to me and they're like, well, how did you and Garrett like know that you weren't done crossing paths? Like, you weren't like that time had served you and it was time to move on, right? And I'm like, I just think we were both just willing to kind of grow, and we'd like drift and then come back together. But it was tricky. It was hard for a couple years, you know? And then we finally felt like we were like, there was like this calm to the storm. And I was like, oh my God, like all of a sudden we started connecting and clicking and working and that kind of thing. So there are times too in relationships, I believe, where maybe people feel like they're not serving you and you kind of like drift apart, but then you can always come back and reconnect later in life as well. So that's cool too. I think that's how I move on, is I'm like, hey, I'm going here. Hopefully you come with me. If you're not, like, peace out, you know?
These were great times.
Yeah.
I appreciate
good
all
times.
of it. So then let's also go. So obviously we have to protect ourselves from friends and crazy shit like that. But what about clients? I feel like clients, when they come and they sit in our chair, they have a trust in us. They are trusting us to put our hands in their hair, to put chemicals in their hair, to change shit up and really make a big difference. What do you see in actually going through and protecting the client inside of the salon?
Going through and protecting the client.
Yeah, so you created NBR for a reason.
Right.
And that, yes, was also because you wanted more hair and to find a better method, but it's also to protect the clients. There are a lot of shitty methods out there. Like, let's just be real about it.
I think this is where I have a hard time with it because I wear these in my hair, when I hear stories on social media of said salons
making scalps bleed and
making scalps bleed that are trying to be like comparable methods to NBR, I'm like, oh my God. And then I like hear stories where people like they're getting these crazy bloody scalps and then they're going in and they're getting in like an argument with the stylist and the stylist is like, fuck you. And she's like, fuck you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, I can't even handle it. I guess because I go into extensions or doing hair in the sense of like, I want people to feel beautiful. And if their scalp was bleeding, I'm like, what the fuck? Let's problem solve. Why is your scalp bleeding? And I wear these, so I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's just crazy. So protecting for me with the client is like, we have to protect our brand because we're delivering a different service, a different service, a different experience, a different service. It's just, we have to protect the brand with the client and know that it's like, they're not being done correctly and it's not the same thing.
And so basically, here's what happened. There's a salon we won't name anymore at this point. But on social media, we saw that a client who had gone there posted that her scalp was really hurting. And NBR, it doesn't hurt. Like, it should not be painful ever. And given she did not get NBR, she went to a knockoff version of it. And she posted that all of a sudden, a week later, her scalp fucking hurt. She had a friend look at it. She was literally bleeding from her scalp where the extensions were attached, and it was creating sores, and it was scabbing. So she called the salon, that will not be named, and they were basically like, no, you're good. We don't know what you're talking about. We'll
charge you to take them out even though your scalp's bleeding.
Yeah.
We'll scrape the scalps off.
Oh my God, it's so disgusting. Oh God. But that's really what they said. They said, yeah, we'll take them out, but it's $100. Even though her scalp was literally bleeding, there are pictures of it. So then she ended up calling. Her stylist wouldn't even speak to her. I mean, it was a fucking shit show. And so eventually they went in and just had them all taken out, and they were so rude to this client and so mean to her, literally mocking her in the chair, telling her there was nothing wrong with her scalp, even though there's picture evidence proof of her red ass bleeding scalp. It was insane. Here's the deal. So Jill, you've obviously you're the new, Danielle's like, ha, ha, ha. So you're the newest one to DKW, well, newest-ish, you're actually transitioning onto the floor now. So very exciting. Congrats. Your assistant program was supposed to be a year. You made it a whole 6 months, and we were like, you earned it. You're out. Good for you, Jill.
I've only been here for 6 months. I feel like I've known you forever.
I know.
Yeah, Jill moved here a couple
October
weeks
1st.
Wow.
And I signed my lease October 14th.
Wow, look at us.
It's been 6 months, which is insane. So
it's crazy.
What do...
All
right. You guys known each other. Our period's going to sync up next too.
Oh my God. Too far.
Always too far.
I don't have one, so you know.
Too far.
Too far again.
So, but even, I like that I got that on camera too. So even with that, Jill, you're now going out onto the floor and you're going to be doing clients. What do you see about having, obviously not perfecting a method. We don't believe anything's perfect, but really making sure that you know how to do a method right in order to protect the client themselves?
I think that it's just disrespectful to your client if you don't know what the hell you're doing and you're like, well, I just want to make money, so I'm going to wing it. Every single day, we ask the people in our mastermind and the people in the salon to do 15 minutes of power practice. I feel like that is just it's so helpful, and you're really showing dedication to your clients, to the other team members at your salon that might have to fix it if you fuck it up. So it's just showing that you're really willing to help them and you care about their scalp enough that I'm going to go home after work and I'm still going to practice some more. So I just think you want to give them the best experience. They want to have a great time with the extensions.
You know I'm getting out of this?
What?
Well, no, you're doing great. What I was going to say.
Jill's like, oh,
you know
God.
You know what's getting lost in the salon world is people are like, it's getting somewhat silly to build a following. Like people 20, 30, 40, 50,000, 200,000, 400,000 followers. And all of a sudden they're forgetting about retention of a client. They're forgetting about the experience behind the chair. They're forgetting about how to connect with that client.
Yeah.
And they're getting so blinded by it and yeah, there may be crazy clients. I don't know the whole story. I've had a few crazy clients in my chair. I don't really care about the whole story. All I know, yeah, you're going to get a few crazies. But all I know is like when you have that mindset of churn and burn, like what the fuck does that say to your client?
You just don't give a crap about them.
You don't give a shit about them. Exactly. And that's like one thing that I see in our industry that is just like mind-boggling to me. And I honestly, social media is a great tool, but I see it happening more and more and more because people are getting such an ego about having that following and being able to use that as marketing and get so many people through the chair. We only have so much time. And even if you have 12 stylists in your chair, those 12 stylists only have so much time. And so they come in with this attitude is like, you're a fucking crazy bitch. You have a bloody scalp. I don't care. I don't want you anyways. And I'm going to charge you to remove it because I can replace you. What does that say about you as an individual? What does that say about your salon? We've got to do away with the whole like factory line of salons.
It's awful.
It's awful. Like if I always try to like look at something from like a client perspective, because
definitely.
I get my hair done as well, and I do not want to be shoveled through 6 different stylists and wondering if my hair is fucking frying off or feeling uncomfortable that like these feel itchy or tight. Can I text them or can I call them? Is this okay? What we do in my salon, it's a small boutique salon. We currently have 4 chairs. We're expanding to probably 7. We will not ever have more than 7 salons in any of my DKW styling salons. That's right. I said DKW styling salons.
Woo!
Because we're losing that client experience within the salon environment. We're losing it. It's fucking bonkers to me. Like, I'm like, we went from these, it's like history is repeating itself in our industry and nobody's learning anything. We build these huge salons and we do this massive production and then it's churn and burn and then all of a sudden we go to these small boutique, or not boutique, we go to these, what are they called? Spa studios. And everybody has a spa studio, but then they're feeling isolated. And then they're not feeling that creative flow. And the owners of it are feeling like this is amazing cash flow. I have 19 salon suites or whatever. But then it's like then they start opening up salons and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just like a cycle.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no. That's like something that shouldn't be happening in our industry. And so for me, I'm like, lately when I've been teaching our classes, I've been really wanting to nail in like the client experience, the client service, the connection, and all of that. Because if you're paying a high premium, and extensions is a niche, it is a high premium. It's not a cut at Supercuts. It's a luxury item. We do not need it. It's not a necessity. And so you should be able to deliver that experience and not shovel your clients through a freaking factory with a bloody scalp, ending with a yelling match in your salon. Like that to me is ridiculous, like beyond ridiculous.
There's literally no way, shape, or form that can be justified, and it's
there is
no.
There's nothing. Like like I said, there's crazy clients out there. Like I'm sorry, but that is crazy to me, and it just shows a lot about character flaws in people.
And what's interesting is we actually had a similar situation inside of Mastermind once. One of the artists kind of got into it with a client, like it was a fucking shit show for a minute, and we ended up backing the client, and we said, that's not okay. Well, the artist called me, and I'm sure she'll listen to this, and when you hear this, because I know she will, I love you. I still love you. She's still inside Mastermind. Nice. She's actually coming this week or next week. I mean, she'll be here soon. This is nothing bad against her, but I heard what she said to the client. And when she called me, she was like, I'm super upset with you. You didn't back me. I'm like, oh, hold on, homie. That's not how this is going to go. I said, how am I supposed to back you when you said all this shit to her?
Yeah.
I go, we will not back you if you do that, because that is not how we operate.
Right.
We don't approve of that. We treat all clients with complete respect, whether they're fucking lunatics or not.
Right.
It's just a people thing.
Right.
You treat, it's what is it, the golden rule? You just treat people how you want to be treated.
You respect others.
And just be kind. That's what you wrote the other day.
I know. It was not a good post.
And I copied it. I was like, I'm telling you, that morning, that is the thing I needed to hear. And I was like, thank you, Danielle. Like, the universe dropped this in my lap this morning. Amazing. But it's true. And she was super upset. And I said, how do you expect us to back you if this is how you're going to treat people? That's not how we treat people. That's not how the brand is. You're making the brand look bad, and I will not allow it. I go, so you tell me. And then she was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I get it. I'm like, no. So even inside of our artists, I'm like reeling that shit back in. Like, that's not how we treat people.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I'll keep going. I was gonna say, I'll read this quick little post that I wrote, because I think, like we're kind of communicating here, like that's getting lost. Like, we're very much like, go and be our pride and tribe and whatever, and like take back behind the chair and take back control. But we're not like, fuck you clients, like
no.
And in fact, like, honestly, when I do have a problem that arises in my own salon, there's a minute where I'm triggered. I'm like, fucking crazy ass bitches. And then I go into like, no, Danielle, be professional. Like, look at it from their standpoint. And even then, you're not them. You're like, just be professional about it. Hey, is there any, I go into it with more like the Nordstrom's approach.
Yeah.
And that's how I always think of it. I'm like, they're just like, hey, we're going to have crazies, but we stand for this. So I wrote a little post the other day. It said, just be happy. I'm a happy person by nature. I try to see the good in people, sometimes too much, and it backfires on me. In life, we get to choose who we surround ourselves with. Who we surround ourselves with. Those that are not supporting where we want to be, that we have the choice to change that. I'm big on vibes and energy of people. No matter how far I go in life or what I accomplish, it's good to take a minute and be grateful for what you have. It's also important to show gratitude in life for what you've created for yourself. Strive for the next level while enjoying where you're at. Stay humble, be loyal, create more. If you respect yourself, you will respect others. Just fucking be nice, that's all.
But that really is, just be kind. I'm always blown away by the shit that people say to clients, or like you keep saying, it's the churn and burn.
Yeah.
And for me, you said it earlier, what does that say about you?
Yeah.
That a client comes to you, says, my scalp is literally bleeding, help, and you're like, all right, I'll charge you $100 to take it out.
Yeah.
What the what?
Well, we can't go into that mindset of like, well, what'd you do?
Yeah.
Well, what'd you do? And even when we have as a professional, as the salon industry, we have like done that for some reason where we're like, well, it's your fault. Oh, well, your hair pulls red. Well, it's because your hair's crazy, not me. When are we going to take some fucking accountability? Like, know your shit and don't say, oh, that formula took so weird on your hair. No, I'm a fucking asshole. Let me figure out how to make this right. Like, really?
Look inwards before you look outwards to blame.
Yes. And so when I started shifting my mindset with that, even down to even colors, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't like how this pulled. Hold on, let's remix. And I always say, work until the job is done, so that you're not like throwing the client under the bus. Like, what'd your hair do? What'd your last stylist do?
What did you have on your hair before this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, fucking own it and be like, I didn't do a test strand. I didn't know how this was gonna lift. You don't have to say all that, but you can just be like, oh, that didn't take the way I wanted it to. We're gonna remix a toner. We're gonna do this. We're just gonna work until I get the job done. Do you know what I mean? And if you're stressed about time, you say, I'm sorry, we are out of time. I always just keep them there, and I text my next one. I'm like, we're running late. This shit's got to get handled. Because if you send
a little,
because if you send somebody home with like crazy hair, they're like, I don't want to go back. They lose trust. So you've got to work. You've got to work until the job's done. But yeah, even when I have clients now that they're like, extensions is a tricky game because it's a little bit of the power is out of our control because of the hair, right? So it has to be so much education that goes into the client as how to take care of the hair, because you don't want to say, oh, it's a bad batch. Oh, it was tingly. Oh, it was this. And so for me, it's always a game of problem solving. And instead of throwing my client under the bus, I'm the first to throw myself under the bus. Like, oh, well, when I did that, I experiencing this, and this. And I go at it with an attitude of, I'm trying to help you. And I say that to them. I'm like, oh my God, that is so crazy. And in the end, if I can't figure out why the fuck their hair is doing crazy shit, I'm like, no problem. Free hair. I would love to put in, as long as they don't seem like a total crazy bitch, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, absolutely. Like, Maria, you are such a good client, and I am sorry you had this experience. I would love to give you all hair and put in next time at my cost, because you've been with me for 3 years, and I fucking respect you. Right? And that's how it should be done. We don't say, oh, I'm going to charge you $100 and let me pick the blood off your scalp as I remove those. What the fuck?
Oh, my God. Well, and we've seen that before when we were testing out new hair, the Russian hair.
Right.
I put the blonde in a client, and she was like, I don't know. She's like, Ani, it's just feeling really tangly. I'm like, well, come on in. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, fuck. I said, you know what, Amber? I'm like, we're just going to replace it all. And she's like, all right, well, how much is it going to be? And I was like, nothing. We're replacing it. She was literally floored, like dumbfounded.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah. She was like, wait, what?
Right.
And for her, it's not that money was the problem. Like, that wasn't it. But she was just like,
that doesn't happen in our
care
industry.
Enough to do that?
Yes.
It's called client retention. Why are we so worried? Marketing's important, but what the fuck happened to client retention?
Because people don't realize that it's easier to keep a client than try to get a new one.
Right. Right.
Yes.
They came to you for a reason. They want to be in your chair for a reason. Now, respect that and show them that you care about them equally.
Right.
But it's completely lost. But Amber, whenever she came in and I told her, I'm like, hey, we're going to replace the hair, do all this, no cost, don't worry. She was like, she goes, I mean, I had a problem at the last salon I was at, and they just made me buy new hair. I'm like, oh my God, that blows my mind.
And some people are cool like that. Like Amber's super sweet, and so she'd probably just be like, okay, that sucks, but I'll buy new hair.
Yeah.
But when you up the game and when you up the experience, not only is Amber going to be a loyal client, she's probably going to tell her friends that are cool girls too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And word travels. And the other thing too is like, I remember when that happened, I even personally reached out to her and as the owner, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry that happened. So clients like that. Like I would like say if you're a salon owner or a stylist, try little things like that, following up with them, making it a little bit more personal. I know that like when if you have a doctor's appointment or if you go in for surgery, who calls you 2 hours later? Does the doctor calls you? Hey, just wanted to follow up with you. He's in between surgeries and doing a ton of shit, but what did he do? He took a minute to go out of his day to follow up and be like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Are you doing okay? And I'm not saying we're fucking doctors, but I am saying that little something like that goes a long way with a client.
And I definitely think part of it is, too, sometimes you kind of have to check yourself.
Yeah.
Because your energy, like our energy inside the salon is always so good. But if you are weird with a client, they're immediately going to know, and that throws them off. And we've seen that before, you know?
Yeah. And then they're stressed the whole time sitting in the chair. And then they're like, well, what are they doing? And then they're not going to be happy with their result because you weren't putting on a smile the whole time. You weren't comfortable. And so they're like, well, is it about me? Is it about my hair? What's going on? You know, sometimes like even I'll be like laughing at something and I'll gasp and they're like, what happened to my hair? And I'm like, oh, sorry, no, I was just laughing at a joke. So like they're just so nervous the whole time sitting there because they want to have like a good outcome.
I once had a client who, I can't remember who it was. She wasn't even a client. She was like a collaboration I did with somebody, and then she wanted to come back and get her extensions tightened, and she was literally like calling and texting every stylist and
exactly
everybody, every person, and being like, well, what do you charge? Well, what do you charge? What do you charge? Because she thought I was like screwing her over, and she goes, well, I don't know. I just think Danielle seems like the type of person that charges you based on your handbag that you bring in. And I was like,
you fucking bitch.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, A, I don't operate that way, and that shows a lot about you. But also, I took a minute, like, because I wanted to be pissed at her, and I did unfollow her because I'm like, fucking bitch. But at the same time, I'm like, what does that say about our industry? Sorry, I got a little aggressive with the table. But do you know what I mean? I'm like, are we labeled as people as like, she has a nice handbag, she gets an extra $100, or oh, she get, you know what I mean? I'm like, no. Like, to me, I'm like, does that say something about our industry? Yes, it does. And yeah, I did unfollow her because that was a bitchy thing to say. Rude. So, but anyways, I was just like, I kind of turned it. I'm like, okay, so now even in my salon, like I don't want clients to feel that way. And so I even like have the receptionist like break it down. Here's your hair cost, here's this. Do you have any questions on anything? Because I don't want them to think that we're like sneaking one under the rug. Like, oh, here's an old shitty piece of hair. Just tuck that in and charge her full price. It's half used. And I know people have done that. And I won't say, but I have had even people of the said salon like, oh, you just save it, and I'm like, whoa.
And you use it for like 3 years, and it's gonna look amazing.
Yeah, no,
like,
we don't.
No.
And we never just like let a client walk out the door. You know, afterwards we're giving them a follow-up email, how you need to take care of it, and then we check on them still a week later to make sure everything's going well.
Right.
That's just like the kind of salon that we are. We want to have integrity with our clients, so we're protecting ourselves, our brands, and our clients by just giving the client a good experience.
Right.
And I feel like I have to address that lady because I was also one of the people she reached out to. I'm like, the minute you're like, she reached out to everyone, I'm like, I know who she is exactly. But you know what? Her even saying that, I think, says more about her because I know when she was messaging everybody, she's like, do you want to trade? Do you want to trade? Do you want to trade? I'm like,
do you want a massage?
Yeah, I'm like, no,
so creepy.
I don't like massages. You're stranger danger. Please don't touch me. Oh God, I'm not about that life. I cannot commit to that yet. So, but even then, I was like, no, like these are the prices, and the prices are same across the board. Like we have, like you said, we have a list that we follow. We're not just like, today I'm a little tired, so I think I'll charge more. Like that's not how this works, you know? But even then, so I think her saying that,
maybe I almost wonder, she works.
I wonder, is that how you operate? Is that how you're showing up and you look at clients and you're like, you have that Chloe bag. I know it's $1,500. I think I'm going to charge you extra today. Like that blows my mind.
Right.
And I feel at that point, she didn't even gauge you correctly because do we all like expensive things? Yeah, whatever. But you're super chill. Like you're so laid back.
Yeah.
For someone to say that about you, I'm like, not even fucking talk to Danielle for 2 minutes? Like, did you not say 3 words?
What's funny is I actually invited her into my home to do a cooking class for my kids. That's why, again, I was like, what the fuck is up with people? Like, we sat and like hung out, like had a glass of wine. Like, right?
I just don't.
I was like, I'm so dumbfounded by people. I'm like, fuck you. Like, whatever. So,
oh my God, that blows my mind.
Stuff happens, you know?
People are very interesting, but I really feel like not the reason you have success, but you having success and being so young, it's like having such great success so young, I bet that does rub people the wrong way sometimes.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm sure that it does, and they see you with, I don't, that's what Gucci, I don't know what the fuck
I was
that
like,
is.
this is an Apple phone?
She's like, it's an iPhone. But even like having the bags and the shoes and things like that, I'm sure they look at you and they're like, that fucking bitch. And I'm sure that's
I'm like, bitch, I started at 18.
How long have you been hustling for this shit?
I don't have a sugar daddy. This is just me.
But I got offered to be a sugar baby once, and I wanted to kill myself. That was the most awkward moment of
I was just sitting there across the table, and I was like, what's happening? He's offering her a Porsche for 20 minutes.
Shut up. That to you?
That literally happened to me. It was at Seoul down in Newport, and he's like,
you got to be careful with Newport.
I just wanted goat cheese enchiladas.
You wear those red bottoms in Newport, and you're screwed.
Nope.
We were in Converse, I'm pretty sure.
I was in Chucks, and we were super chill, and this weird, like, 300-pound mafia dude sat beside me.
Straight
and he
out
was,
of the mafia.
Seriously, and he was like, hey, so do you want a Porsche? I'm like, no, I don't like people buying me things. No, thank you. He's like, it's a gift. What about a Ferrari for 25 minutes? I'm like, oh.
You're like, oh, God. Don't guys know that's a turnoff?
That is
so gross.
I'm literally sweating thinking about it. I was so stressed out. And then he's so like, gross. Do you see my car out there? It's the car from Dukes of Hazzard. I'm like, kill me.
I know.
I'm like, Jill, just kill me, please. So we're getting off topic,
anyway.
But it was very awkward. So, but even let's talk about, back to like the client experience, because we do put so much into it, because we do like love and appreciate our clients. But like you said, it's just not seen anywhere at this point.
Yeah, I know it's not. And honestly, like, I've even been in a place with my career where I probably was a douchebag. I was a little bit of an asshole, and felt like I was growing so quickly, and I kept like, I'd have like a certain level of clientele, and I was getting so busy that I didn't even have the time to do the follow-up system that I wanted and the experience that I wanted. Mm-hmm. So even I think that's why I kind of like nail into it, because I think even I went through a little bit of like probably a year or two of asshole phase where I was just like, well, this is what the industry does. Like, if you don't like it, whatever. I just post another thing on social media and get another one of you in my chair. You know what I mean? And so I experienced that at some level. And then I had probably a handful of clients that I think saw more in me, which is so awesome. So like, I'm like, hey, thank you, clients that have been with me forever. You know who you are. You're my VIPs. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody's my VIPs. But you know, I think there are certain clients who they even see something in you. You know what I mean? And they kind of like, they grow with you, and even like in the ups and downs, they're just like, oh, I love you and I want you to pull through. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm, and so for me, I look at that now and I'm like, oh God, thanks guys. Thanks for seeing more in me. And yeah, I would like to deliver more of an experience for you. You know, but again, it still is it's very much like, if that relationship doesn't serve you anymore and that particular client doesn't want to grow with you, or things get weird, then you have to kind of end that relationship. But now I at least go into things thinking like, okay, I kind of learned the hard way, and I did it the traditional way that our industry does it, which is like, you only have so much time. You're working so many hours behind the chair, and you're slaving away on your cell phone trying to communicate with your clients and give them the best experience. But in the end of the day, you're like, I'm just exhausted and I want to like hang out with my kids, and I don't have time to worry about your tingly hair, you know? And so there was times where I had experiences like that, and I was just like, she's a fucking crazy bitch. She keeps texting me and telling her hair's tingly, you know? And I think because I wear the product, I've always been super patient. I'm just like, okay, well, tell me what's going on. And to be honest, like my personality, I hate confrontation. So between hating confrontation and being patient, and being kind of a people pleaser, I'd just be like, oh, whatever, here you go. And so it was like this balance for me to like take back behind the chair and not be like kind of a pushover, and not be so nice, and build a business and have respect for myself and have respect for others. But then also have that balance of like, okay, I have respect for myself, but I also want to have respect for the client. And I've learned that. I'm 34 years old, be 35 next week.
Woo! We're going to Vegas!
I know. But it's like I've been doing hair since I was 18, and I just kind of like learned all the skill sets, but I also learned like, okay, here's what needs to happen. And I joked around in our last podcast. I'm like, I'm officially a senior stylist at the ripe age of 34.
You're like, I earned it. It's fine.
Right? Oh, my God.
So then, Jill, even with you, because you were assisting another artist before you came here, and then obviously coming into DKW and assisting Val is like dream come true. But what have you seen differently, not even in how clients are treated, but just kind of the overall experience even for you as like an artist coming in and seeing how things are run at DKW?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we didn't have a follow-up system at at all. It was kind of just like we would just shove people like wherever. We would cancel on them like it wasn't a big deal. We kind of just looked at ourselves as more important. Not that we didn't value, like we don't value ourselves at DKW. We definitely do. But at the same time, there's just more of like a level of like, oh, we give a shit about this client. It's not just like, okay, we need to get them in. We're going to make the money. We want like new MBR clients. We just like want their picture, but like we don't. It's not that we just like don't talk to them. We're just gonna like goof off with each other, and so I feel like
we
at
still do that.
We have fun.
But we include them at DKW. I feel like
it's true.
Everyone's just like talking on like all sides of like the mirror. Like we're all like laughing and just kind of like having a good time, and everyone's involved. I feel like that's what I like, and the clients are having a good time. They said like there's so many MBR stylists like closer to them because a lot of them travel, fly in, like drive in a bunch of hours, but they're like just like the experience here and the way that you guys treat us, like you talk to us, you actually care about us, we're growing friendships, relationships. That's what's different. It's that it just like feels like a home.
Feels like like the boutique environment is fun. I always joke around. I'm like it's like a cool girls barbershop, but like a high class one, high class barbershop for extensions.
I love it.
It's like Club 33 at Disneyland.
Yeah. Oh no.
What the hell's Club 33?
Yeah, you just said
it's
Disney, and I don't think of like Disney and really.
Yeah, there's a secret club at Disneyland, and you have to pay like $30,000 to be in it a month. And I'm like, that's just their price for MBR, but then they could be in our club, and like we just love them. And
the funny thing too, though, like we've had clients, we like because we have a lot of fly-ins and travel-ins, we'll have other people in our network even do their hair, and they're like, why do they love you guys so much? I'm like, and so that's why we used to just teach the business and the system, and now we're like, oh my God, you guys create an experience. And it's so cool to see, like I know Shayna is in our mastermind. Yeah. She just opened her brand new shop. It's so cute.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And to me, I'm so like, pretty. You are respecting yourself more and value yourself more. So you're investing more in yourself and creating this space to create a better experience for your clients. Yep. Versus like, even I have been through this where I'm like, I'm just fucking good at what I do. So who cares if you have to drive past the cow farms and, you know,
past like, the cow shit fields and keep going when you lose service.
when you lose service, and then come to my like shitty spa salon thing that I don't even know if it's clean or not because I didn't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so over time of like even educating, I was like, I've got to up the bar too. Definitely. And so it's so cool to see students when they have like these beautiful spaces, and I'm just like, good for you, because to me, when I see that she's posting all these, I'm like, you respect yourself. That's so fucking cool. You know what I mean? And again, better client experience. Like everybody's like radiating like just positivity.
There's just like light everywhere, and the clients are like, oh, I love going there. It's so beautiful. It's so
the
fun.
Environment. Yeah. So it's like you can deliver a killer system of MBR, but what makes us different is just we're constantly trying to up the bar and ultimately give our clients like that respect and experience.
And really, at the end of the day, when we go through and protect the clients by, Jill, like you said, doing the power practice, doing NBR every single day, getting better at the beadwork, getting better at the stitching, at the color, protecting them in that sense of practicing and also giving them a good experience, it also protects us and the brand as well.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so talk about that, how it's not just...
Well, I think in the beginning, like, when it's hot in here, I'm not even going to lie. I was like, are you guys sweating? I got too much hair in.
You're not the only one. I'm dying of heat right now.
Okay. So in the beginning, again, just learning and growing so much. In the beginning, I was like, I'm going to launch a brand. I'm going to teach everybody, and everyone's going to just have the same experience I do, and they're going to be able to take this to their clients, and it'll be amazing, and it's great. Only to find out, like, people would come to me, and even when I didn't have an amazing space, I've always genuinely cared about the client and wanted them to have a good experience, you know, because I wore these in my head and I felt like I wanted my work to reflect well. And so then I would send them to somebody else that I taught, and they'd be like, he's an asshole. And not only that, like these aren't this, and then it reflected bad on me, and they're like, he's not even doing it the same way. And I'm like, oh geez.
And then they're like, well, great recommendation, why would you send me there?
Right. And then I would want to go to that stylist and like help them, and they were like triggered, like, how dare you? Like, I'm like, oh my God, I was just trying to give you like a pointer. And then they'd come back and be like, well, your system doesn't work anyways. And as much as I wanted to be like, you're a douchebag, so you shut up, I was like, again, learning as I go, I was like, okay, so clearly something is flawed in my system. How can I educate people better? What can I do? And that's what birthed the weekly or the monthly class, because I was like, you cannot figure this out in one certification class. You cannot figure this out in a 4-day certification class. It's got to be constant learning and growing. Do you know what I mean? So if we expect, we have that mindset where we're trying to build something bigger, so we're always looking to learn and grow. And so we offer our mastermind where people can learn and grow with us, and it's just really cool to see the movement. And I believe that it actually is impacting our industry on such a huge level, because with our industry, like a lot of us go into doing hair to be our own boss, but we don't know business, we don't know client retention, we don't know client experience, we don't know any of that, and that's lost. And that's why trains thus behaviors of like, it's the fucking client's fault, your hair pulls red because of this or this, blah blah blah, and not knowing how to emotionally deal with it as the professional. Do you know what I mean? So I believe what we are doing is 100% changing the game, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. We had our last convention was 200 stylists. We have 2 conventions. This, when do we have? Summer 300. November we have another 300. We do classes every fucking week. Like, this shit's getting big. And I know that we're like at a tipping point, because people are like, have you heard of this new method? But it's not even the method. It's like what we're doing behind the method. And that is what is going to set us apart. And that's what people are already noticing. And so that's so cool, like, to see it unfold to where I knew it always could be. And for so long, I kind of was like, oh, well, it's not going to happen. I'm just going to crawl back under, you know? And so it's cool to be at that point.
Well, and BMS itself, in case you haven't heard of it, it's called Big Money Stylist. It's the methodology of NBR married up to business and marketing tactics. So like Danielle said, back in December, we held our very first convention ever, and there was like 165 artists, I believe.
It seemed like 400.
Oh,
I'm so nervous.
Oh, you get ready, because June, we're at about 350 almost.
Ooh,
and then,
really? Oh, that's so scary.
It's gonna be so good.
Be so fun.
I'm so geeked out over it. And then come November, we're actually having 2 conventions back to back, 300 people apiece. So it is going to be a hell of a week, but it's going to be such a good time. So, and before we start getting emails about it, we have that convention are our really big classes, and then BMS Intensive are our smaller classes. We cap it out at 20 people. So it's not more hands-on training, but it's more personalized one-on-one hands-on training with myself, Val, Danielle, Jill, all of us go through. And those are actually beginning of February. We sold out all the way through summer until September. BMS Con, 300 people or 350 now at this point. We actually sold that out in 26 days. So as of 26 days, Val and I were fucking hustling on the phone.
I'm sweating just thinking about that.
It was, let me tell you, when we finished the phone calls and sold it out, I looked at Val and I was like, I'm not on the phone.
So quiet.
What's wrong with my life? I'm like, oh my God. And then I noticed my phone bill went back down because I wasn't doing calls to fucking like Canada and Australia anymore. I'm like, thanks AT&T, I appreciate it.
Oh,
but even, so if you're wanting to attend a class, go to bigmoneystylist.com and you can actually fill out the application to attend one of our classes. Yes, there is an application. No, we do not accept everybody. Like Danielle had said, what we're doing, we're changing the game. We've literally taken the hair world and completely flipped it upside down. What we do is not normal. It's not seen. It's super intense, in case you can't tell just by talking to me for 3 seconds. But I love it. It's the best. So you can still apply to go through, and you will be put on a wait list and be notified whenever we release dates and times for the fall schedule, but we are not releasing that now. We will be doing that after convention in June, so about June, July probably, probably about June, July, we'll be releasing all of those new dates and times. So here's the deal. Like I said,
pumped.
Oh, I'm so jacked about
I get so nervous, but then I'm so pumped because like when something's new and scary, I'm like, it's the next level.
It's pushing you more and more.
It's pushing me. I love this.
Oh, and for me, I'm like, let's do it. Let's do more. This coming week, we actually have 2 BMS intensive classes. The week after, we have a BMS boot camp. The week after that, we have 2 more BMS intensives.
Oh my God.
And then 3 weeks later, we have BMS Con 2. So needless to say, I'm jacked.
Needless to say, Ani has no life.
That's also very true.
That's why I invited you to Vegas.
Danielle's like, please go out and have fun with human beings. Stop sitting at your headquarters and doing nothing while working. So, but yeah, so you're right. I mean, everything we have done has completely turned the industry upside down, but it's not just having an emphasis on having a skill like balayage or foiling or extensions, whatever it is. It's not enough. It's not enough these days.
Literally what I think we're doing is we're literally like newbies in the game. We're rebirthing stylists to like a whole nother, like, so no more old crappy routines and behaviors and all that shit that doesn't serve
Pre-mixing color before the client gets there.
We're getting rid of all these bad habits and routines to put stylists more on a pedestal. I think my whole life stylists have always looked down upon. Like I remember
you just do hair.
Yeah, and I even remember like when I went to college and then I was like, gosh, I don't really want to go to college, and I was like, I guess I'll just do hair.
Yep.
And even I looked down upon it, and I was like, oh, and then something snapped within me, and I was like, it was when I started educating, and I'm like, stylists are such beautiful people. They just, their brains don't work the way, like they're not very business minded. Some are, some are not, but like they're not they shouldn't be any less equal or any less thought of as any less smart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it always like bugged me and kind of triggered me, and I was like, no. And so I thought if we can retrain the game, if we can retrain the thought process, my goal is like stylists are no longer looked down upon. It's a respectable profession, trade, and you can make a lot of money doing hair.
Yeah.
And I feel like people have always been so surprised, and not even with like the life I lead here, but yeah, I live in Dana Point. It's a super great place to live. I love it, but I think it's almost when they see the clothes we wear or the shoes we have or things like that, they're like, you do what?
You do hair?
You do hair? You can almost like you can
like
afford that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I can't say that's
I just tell my sugar daddy got it for me.
I can't make jokes like that. I don't have one. I would like to let it be known. I told that guy no, just in case that did not come across.
She said yes, don't let her fool you.
Julian, don't you give people that idea. They're actually going to believe that. I said no, I buy my own shit, and then I was super awkward, and we fucking dipped out quickly. So, but we're actually coming to the end now. So, nice. Jill, final words and thoughts on protection. So protection from friends, from the outside, protecting clients, protecting the brand.
Who do you need to protect yourself against, Jill?
I feel like I honestly have to protect myself from myself. Yeah. I'm like my own like worst enemy. Right. I'm my harshest critic. Like, just know like your heart knows like what individual, like the amazing individual that you are. So let it shine. Don't let yourself dwindle by other outside factors. Kind of just like put like a bubble around you. One that like you can let people into if they're like awesome, but just let yourself be you, and you know what's right for you, and you know what's like right for your clients, for your brand, and just have that spark always, you know?
Blinders. That, ever since you said that, Danielle, about putting blinders on, I have always thought about that. Whenever I get not into in my head, but too much like chaos, outside noise, I'm like, don't do it.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay,
you literally
just nope.
I envision literally like force field up. I'm like, nope.
Star Wars, I like it.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, I'm in my, and it's like, it's weird. You know what happens to me when I visualize that for myself is like, I physically feel myself get happier and airier and lighter. And I'm like, oh my God, look how pretty the ocean looks today. Like
when you're like happy with yourself, you're just like, wow, that bug looks so pretty flying around right now.
You can just, are you high?
You can just appreciate like the little things in life, and you're not like stressed. I see a lot of people who maybe have everything in life and they're super unhappy, and you're like, what are you complaining about? You know? So it's important to like focus on the positive things and cut out those who don't serve you and those who are not. Yeah, those who do not serve you. You know what I mean?
People who bring you down. I feel like if you have a conversation with someone and you leave and you're like, I might hate myself a little, you should probably just not be around them. Or if you talk to someone and you feel so, like, I'm so big on vibes and energy. Yeah. Like that friend you had. Sorry if she listens to this, whatever. But the day I met her and I was like, I don't fucking like you at all.
I know.
To the point where, honestly, it was hard for me to be around her.
I know.
Because her energy was so bad. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever met a more self-centered, egotistical person. Good for you, I guess. But I was like, Danielle, I'm like, do you need help on the other side of the salon?
I think I saw that side of said person, but I also saw, like I said, I try to see, like, behind, like,
you saw that glimmer of hope, and
yes,
you're like, oh, I want that.
Totally. But now I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I don't have time for that. It is what it is. It served a purpose. Bye-bye. So I think there's a lot of relationships like that where you can see the good, or they serve you for a purpose, but then don't be afraid to be like, okay, it is what it is. And there's no reason to dwell on it. Like I'm over it. Like I don't really care. It just it kind of got brought up in today's podcast. So I was like, yeah, this is something I experienced last week. So here you go.
For sure.
But yeah.
And at the end of the day, let's just be real. You're surrounded by such cool people. It's hard to be like, you're not as cool as the other people I'm with,
you know what?
You gotta go.
I think that's true. I think at the time I was working, doing my own thing, and I think I was more accepting to whoever wanted to make an appointment with me. Yep. And now I'm at a point too where I'm like, if I feel like a weird vibe or energy, like, it's cool. Like, we don't have to work together. That's what's cool. Like, you clearly don't want to work with me because obviously I'm triggering the shit out of you. And I don't want to work with you. So let's, like, end this relationship and, like, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I think back then, it wasn't even that long ago, but I was more accepting just to take on whoever. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you have to be best friends with all of your clients that sit in the chair, but if you're sensing like a weird energy of like they're never 100% happy or whatever it is, you don't have to continue to let that client be on your books, you know?
Yep. So at the end of the day, here's what I want you guys to really think about. Look inside of your life. Look inside of your circle of influence, the people that you're constantly around. Is there someone that you know you need to be protecting yourself from? On top of that, look at how you're treating your clients and ask yourself, is there a way that you could make it better? Are you really giving them the best experience that you can? Are you treating them like equals as you would want to be treated? Or are you treating them like they're not really important and they're replaceable? So you guys ponder that, and then we will be back next week to talk about power, my second favorite topic.
Oh.
See you then.
All right.